Well, here I am, way behind schedule. I've got some bad weather blowing in and there's gonna be some high winds, possibly some rain. Exactly the kind of stuff I was hoping to have a bunch of this dirt moving already done by the time that storm blew in. I really wanted to have a couple of my culverts set to see how they would perform with a little bit of moisture if we actually get it. But this week has gone nothing like I hoped it would. Well, our whole off-grid dream kind of hinges on actually getting our home, our big fifth wheel, up here to our off-grid property. No home, not much of a dream, right? And in order to get it up here, we've got to get the road squared away. We've got to get culverts put in. I've got to get a lot of fill dirt moved and compacted. I've got to get a lot of this dirt, hundreds of yards of this dirt, moved in different places in order to have the pad big enough to even bring the RV up here. And none of that's possible without our backhoe, which I have affectionately named Old Leaky Lou. Without Old Leaky Lou actually running long enough to dig some dirt. This week, it wasn't hydraulic hoses, it was starting and wiring and solenoids and loose wires, and just one of those things where everything I seemed to touch broke. Well, after days of leaking hoses and electrical gremlins, the backhoe is finally fired up. Man, that sound, the rumble of the diesel, it is pure music to my ears. And this machine was purring like a kitten, and I was finally cutting into the hillside and moving dirt. I could feel the momentum building right up until the kitten died. Do you ever just have one of those days, one of those weeks, where nothing seems to go right? Come on, Leaky Lou. You were going so good.
You got the white knuckles holding on it tight, keeping your fears bottled up inside, heading for collision in the night. To really live, you gotta die.
Well, I'm far enough into this project where it's time to go grab some culvert pipe, and we're gonna dive into how to use smooth walled pipe for a culvert, which is not your ideal type of pipe to use for a culvert, but I've got a little trick up my sleeve.
Look at the colors, colors, colors around. Look at the colors, colors, colors around. Look at the colors, colors, colors.
All right, as I'm getting ready to figure out the exact location for that culvert, what I want to do is kind of walk uphill, upstream, if you will, and just follow and get a feel for the natural flow of water down this little drainage. And I can see pretty quick. Obviously, this is our low spot. It's going to come down, but if you can tell right here, some of it has kind of pushed over this bank and washed out more to the closer to me. But right in front of that agave right there, I can berm this up real easy and contain that water so that as it comes down, it stays over that way and goes in where that dead stick is right there. And if I bring it around and kind of keep it following the natural path right here through this little section, it's going to bring me out right in there. And that's going to help because I want to get that culvert in a part of my road that's going to be a little bit narrower, because as the road gets closer this way, it's going to get wider because it's going to open up here at the top to come in and make a wider parking area. And so I need to make sure that I can push this water further down that direction as safe as possible, and in a way that I know I can maintain the water flow, so that I can get that culvert in the skinnier part of the road and make the best use of the 20-foot culvert. So I think that's what we're going to do. I dug a bit of a sump in here, and so I'll put a few more over time. I'll build some more check dams up this wash to slow the speed of the water down. So as the water comes down, it'll pool up behind the check dam and help catch some of the debris and slow it down. Then I put a big sump here, and then of course I'll put a rock check dam in here and clean that all up. I just wanted to do the big bulk of the work, getting the ditch cut in with the hoe. So by turning the corner and bringing the ditch this way just a little bit more, and then of course I can berm up the uphill side of it, no problem. But what's going to happen is it'll allow me to bring this culvert in at a section of the road that's a little bit skinnier, so that my 20-foot culvert will pass the whole road area. Because as soon as I get past the culvert, I'm going to carve up towards where the shovel is, and that whole pile of dirt obviously is going to be gone, and it's going to get a lot wider. And so I needed to pull everything this way to get the culvert into this section of the road. So I'm getting close. I'm gonna start kind of just roughing things out and playing around with it to see how it comes together, what it looks like, if I like it. Let's see. Coming to help? Where are you when I needed help digging? Probably off digging a hole somewhere else. I gotta train you to dig precision culvert ditches. Huh? Not so much. All right, when you're setting a culvert, you want to be between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch of drop. You definitely don't want to be over 1/4 inch. And the reason is, if you're too low, if it's too flat, even though the water might run out, it won't run out fast enough, and it won't carry the debris. And this is obviously going to get some sand and stuff that'll push through it. And so you want it to be steep enough that the water will flow out and carry stuff with it. You also don't want it to be too steep, because if it's too steep, just like a sewer line, the water runs out too fast and it leaves the solids behind to clog up the pipe. So you got to kind of find that magic spot. And according to people that are way smarter than me, thanks, Odie. According to people that are way smarter than me, they figured out that 1/4 inch is kind of the sweet spot, 1/4 inch per foot. So in a 4-foot level, that means I should be dropping about 1 inch. And so right now I can already see that I'm going in the right direction, but I have nowhere near enough grade, because that is level right there, and I probably only have about 1/4 inch. So if I set the culvert like this, it's too flat, and I would end up just plugging it up. So what that means is more digging. I've got to start clear back up on that end and just shave the bottom of this ditch all the way down. Probably need to drop another couple inches, maybe 3 inches roughly on the other end of it to get enough slope. So I'm going to pop this back out. I wish I could teach him how to dig. He's really good at digging, just not in the spots that I want him to. He's usually really good at digging in things he's not supposed to dig in. This, Odie, you want to come dig a culvert? Do you want to dig a culvert? Come here. Come here. Sit. Good boy. Give me a shake. Other one. Good boy. All right, Knuckles, pound it. Yeah. Still high. Oh, we're doing better. Lunchtime. Well, it has been a long week and nothing has gone according to plan. I don't know if you can relate to those kind of weeks or not. Probably everybody can. But not only was I having tractor problems and culvert budget problems and all that sort of stuff, we also got a phone call this week that was pretty unexpected. And Kayla's mom is not doing well and ended up having to go into the hospital for some pretty serious stuff. And so the last several days, all projects were kind of on hold, and we were scrambling to look through, budget and flights and timing and schedule and all that stuff, because it looks like it looked like she was going to have to go home. And for her, home is Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, which is a really long way from northern Arizona. So for her to leave and feel like she was setting us up for success here, she did a lot of work the last few days of getting things ready to make sure I have everything I need to keep the dogs fed, making sure I have everything to keep me fed. Not that I couldn't take care of myself by all means, but it's just part of being a team. And she knew that I am neck deep in projects and road work and culverts and lots of stuff to do. So anything she could do to kind of help get things ironed out and take some stuff off my plate before she left, she did a bunch of that, which is just a huge blessing. So last night yesterday, pretty much most of the day we spent finalizing all of her travel plans and packing and getting her up to Las Vegas, which is a pretty big trip in and of itself. And then tidied up a few things there that we needed to get done and loaded her on a plane. And she ended up flying out on a red-eye flight overnight, like one of those deals where her flight left at like 11 or 12 local time and landed at like 6 in the morning local time. And then she got on another plane in Toronto and flew to Thunder Bay. And wasn't too long ago. I was just up here digging away on this ditch, and I got a phone call that said she's there, she made it, she's safe. Uh, Ironically, in the classic, the week that is not going according to plan, as I'm sitting here right now, it's northern Arizona that gets so little rain. Like, very rarely does it ever rain. I mean, there are monsoons, and when it rains, it's a big deal and all that stuff. But generally, day to day, there's just no rain. As I'm sitting here, I'm getting rained on. The raindrops are coming. The clouds are getting really dark around me, especially back here in the backyard over the hill. And I knew there was rain in the forecast, but I didn't think it was till a couple days from now. And it looks like we might have a little storm pushing in sooner than I thought, which means I need to hurry up. I need to get my butt in gear. So I'm going to call lunchtime over. Here we go. A lot of times when you see a culvert, metal or plastic, it's corrugated. It has like lots of little ribs on it. And the reason it has ribs on it is so that when the dirt packs in around the culvert, it grabs a hold of those ribs on the pipe, gets a bite, so that when water and hydraulic force press into the pipe, it can't push the pipe out. So very much like one of these hydraulic cylinders, water is hydraulic pressure. And so fluid goes inside of this thing and pushes out, and then the cylinder goes in and out. And it's all with hydraulic fluid pressure. The same thing will happen to this culvert if I don't create a way for that pressure to stop, to resist it. So what'll happen is water will build up upstream, it'll get a head of water on it, it'll fill up, and then it'll want to act just like a hydraulic cylinder. It'll just want to push that culvert out just like a ram. And since this is not the right pipe to make a culvert out of, ideally, but it was free, I'm going to get creative and show you what I'm going to do here. So I got a little trick up my sleeve to turn this not perfect pipe into a long-term perfect culvert. at least for our application. And I was inspired by something I used to do back in the Northwest when I was building pole barns. When you put a 6x6 post in the ground, it's just a straight post and it goes down on a cement footer in the bottom of the hole, and then you build this whole huge building around it, which carries the load, but that it doesn't stop it from popping up out of the ground. And you would be amazed what force wind can have in terms of uplift, but just like wind going over the wing of an airplane. And so wind goes over the top of a barn and it creates uplift, and if you don't do something to the bottom of those posts, it'll pick the building right up out of the dirt. And so what we would always do is put uplift blocks around the bottom of our 6x6s. So you got a 6x6 that goes in the ground. We'd put extra blocks all the way around it to make like almost like a big knuckle on the bottom of the post. And then that would go into the bottom of the hole, which would get wallered out. So then it kind of looked like a Q-tip, like a real small shaft and then a big hole at the bottom. And that would get filled with cement and then all backfilled really good. So now it had structural support as far as download, but if it got wind tried to pick it up, it had this huge ball of cement on the bottom that would stop it from picking up. And so remembering how we did those uplift blocks years ago when I was building those types of things kind of inspired me to think about the same type of deal. So if the goal here is to make sure this pipe doesn't slide out, then I need to be able to put something on it to keep it in place. And to that end, I did a little dumpster diving. I found a little desert dump, which is a terrible thing because people are lazy and pathetic, and they throw garbage in places they shouldn't throw it. So trying to do my best to clean the spot up, but also utilize some of the stuff that they were just going to throw away and actually turn it into something useful instead of just rotting in the desert. And I found a bunch of old shelf parts, nothing that's really of any huge value to me. But in this particular location, in this particular application, these shelf parts are going to turn into kind of like secure cleats to hold this culvert in place. So let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Odie's going to have my whole ditch backfilled before I get there, up and down the ditch. All right. For this first one, I'm probably just going to leave a couple of these pieces long. I have a side grinder up here, but I don't have a cutoff wheel handy, so I'm just going to leave them long. But the gist of it is I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to obviously dig the dirt down. I'll dig the dirt down so that that goes down and is bedded on top of the pipe, and then I'm going to drill some holes through there and fasten these cleats to the top of the pipe. And then maybe some of the short ones I'll actually drive in next to the pipe sideways. So I've got kind of a little bit like a porcupine of all these different cleats coming off of the pipe in different directions. And then those are all going to get securely backfilled and tamped into place. And that way you've got all these fingers that are just clawed out all over the place attached to the pipe. So if the pipe tries to move, it can't. I'm purposely using some pretty short screws because I don't want them to stick too far down in the culvert and give anything like a branch or anything something to grab a hold of and snag up in there. So keeping them pretty short. All right, it's not pretty, but it's super functional. So I drove a bunch of those in, kind of like stakes, way deep on an angle and then wrapped them around the culvert and put a bunch of screws in them. So I've got shear strength of the screws holding them in, but I've also got this like lateral strength of the metal going down into the dirt and then wrapping it, and I've got them going in different directions. So I mean, it'll last for a long time. Eventually the screws could rust and break, and eventually over lots of years it could, if you had a great big storm and all the right conditions, it could push out. But it'll probably stay there as long as I'm alive. That's my theory. All right, nobody panic over this. I have lots of stuff to do upstream to clean out. I'm gonna make myself a good smooth rock basin, probably do a little bit of a cement mix and mortar around the face. And then I'm gonna clean all this out. It'll end up getting cut in and bermed. And there's lots more work to do above the culvert, but I can't get to any of that until I had the culvert placed and kind of had a better idea of what's going on. So if you can't tell, sort of making it up as I go, but I think it's gonna work. So I'm ready to start backfilling, and that means I'm gonna need some water. And of course, I forgot to bring a longer hose up from the other property. So 5-gallon buckets it is, because I wanna backfill a little bit and then fill a little bit of water over the top of that so I can just get everything compacted in super tight around this culvert and all those anchors, and then do a couple more layers just above it with some water for compaction. And then I'm going to fire up the backhoe and we're going to start putting some dirt back in this roadway. Right now I have a real high-tech system, 500-gallon cistern, garden hose, on-off valve, and here we go. Apparently there was some soap in the bucket. Oh, I forgot. This was the bucket I think she was using to wash windows down at the RV. Good news, my culvert will be clean before I compact it with dirt. Some good old-fashioned redneck compaction. Beautiful. Let that soak in a bit. Well, the culvert is locked in, the backhoe is running, knock on wood, for now it's running, and we've been moving dirt for a while and making a little bit of progress, which feels kind of nice after the week we've had. But that's just kind of how it is. Off-grid life teaches you to kind of overcome and fix the small stuff, and it teaches you to dig in and have some grit and work through the big stuff. But probably one of the biggest keys to remember, pretty literally here, is you just never stop digging. Keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other, one bucket into the pile, another shovel full, and little by little, as my wife reminds me, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm way more of a sprint guy. Get her done as quick as possible, but I'm reminded time and time again, this is more of a marathon project than a sprint, which is okay. It's good for me to learn the marathon, I think. Well, as I wind her down for the day, walking everything, it looks like I made more of a mess than progress. I don't know. I know I made some progress, but I have a lot of finesse and finish work, and I am learning pretty quick that me and this old backhoe, we don't have finesse figured out yet. So we'll get there, but making progress. Hey, I don't know how long Kaila is going to be gone up in Canada. It's got the feel of several weeks or a month, maybe more. It's a pretty serious ordeal, and it's gonna take some significant time as her mom pulls through some things for Kaila to come alongside her and help. So there's a good chance that you're gonna be stuck with solo me for a while. And as you can imagine, trying to do projects like this, film, move cameras, and keep everything sorted, they may not be the snazziest videos you ever saw, but you know what they're gonna be? They're gonna be real. They're gonna dig into real stuff on a real off-grid property, and it's gonna be authentic. And I love the creative stuff. I love the music. I love the drone shots. I like all the fun stuff. So I like to try and keep weaving that stuff in to the best of my abilities, even if it slows the project down a little bit, because I don't know, I like to tell a good story. I like to tell it in a creative way. So I'm sure glad you guys are here. If you haven't seen some of the other videos about how we got here and how our whole off-grid life started at like 3.5 years in an RV full time, which we still live in today, and what's the deal with this property and what's it all about and what are our dreams and goals and projects and all that stuff, be sure to check out a couple of these videos. They're gonna pop up right now on the screen. And I'm gonna get in this old leaky loo tractor and finish a little bit more dirt work here before I head on down the hill. You guys have a awesome week. I'll see you here next Saturday morning with another project and more adventures from Off-Grid Dreamers.